Island High School class of 1971. Here on Merritt Island Field, we saw great talent, great games, culminating in 1972 with a team that was called the Team of the Decade here in the state of Florida. Exciting team to watch. You had an exciting scrambling quarterback, Jimmy Black. You had Waldo Williams averaging 6-7 yards up the middle, and Leon Bright averaging 10 and 11 around the side. Punished people, dominated people here at Merritt Island Field. A lot of tradition here. Very proud to say how much we followed this team, even from being a freshman in college and coming back home to see them play. And now, the accolades that they have coming forward to them from the Space Coaast Hall of Fame, that whole team being inducted. Long overdue. Waldo Williams, Leon Bright, Jimmy Black, all should have been inducted individually by now. We're proud to say that your Merritt Island Mustang.
He got ran down.
Hey, but you know what, Hurley? It's a funny thing, but if you look back at all the running backs from Merritt Island, guess where they came from?
Over there.
Leon.
Exactly.
Larry Field.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Spencer.
Yes, sir.
Art Smith.
Yeah, you ain't got to tell me.
I mean, I'm just saying, you know, they were some bad boys.
Yeah, right they were.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they were.
I'm telling you.
Walter Battle, Larry, like you say, Larry Field. I remember Larry over there.
But y'all don't know who started this shit off the running backs.
Jordan.
Harvey Jordan.
We watched him play as kids.
Right. But that ain't true, dog.
Who was it?
Harvey Jordan was not the first running back in Merritt Island.
Who was?
Who was? Robert Kaysen.
Oh, that's right. Kaysen.
You know Bob Kaysen?
No.
Kaysen, a little bitty dude, a little bit black dude. He was always an athlete, though.
I heard about
Stocky, good athlete. Hurley, you remember George in the game? You don't remember George in the game, huh?
Yeah,
I remember Harvey Jordan. He beat
Oh, yeah.
all the way
That
down.
guy, you know Joe Williams. You don't know Joe Williams, do you?
I don't know.
No, that was his brother. Joe Williams was an all-state wrestler right here in Merritt Island. These
These
guys don't even know.
But Harvey, boy, the man was Harvey, though.
Yeah.
Harvey was a dude.
Harvey came in.
His shoes.
Right.
Hey, I tried to find me a pair of them shoes that could go up there on them boots.
Yeah.
I wanted those
He
boots.
wore those ankle
That's what he wore back in the day?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
lying. So that's what these kids are wearing now?
Yeah.
Oh, they wear those.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right.
yeah.
That's what goes wrong.
that's what-
I'll be damned.
Harvey Jordan.
Harvey was the first great running back, if you want to say that.
Yeah.
And then after Harvey was a guy named Steve Reeves, white boy. He was bad as well. Reeves was a badass white boy now. Steve Reeves, you know him?
Yeah, I remember.
He lives here in Merritt Island. He Facebooked me. I'm like, he goes, Waldo, I don't believe you even remember me. I know everybody, man. You know what I'm saying?
If you don't, you act like it.
You do. Nah, here, get it.
After Reeves, hey, Hurley, you know Fred Jones?
We got
Fred Jones.
Yeah, no, right.
Fred Jones. You know.
Okay, okay. Waldo. Thank
Wait a
you.
minute, I'm talking.
I don't give a damn about that. Let's get this going.
You gotta get it right.
Yeah, his ass. That's what I left here like that, having to get it right. His ass came in, thought he knew everything there. We had to get him right then. Ain't nothing changed. We still got to get him right. So I get him right.
Your daddy had to do the same shit.
What is today?
Is the online component of Insights. IM brings to life stories that need to be remembered, that need to be told. Telling it to you from an insider point of view. These accounts aren't always found everywhere else. It's a visual and audio revelation. It's a sharing of occurrences. It's documenting history. It's revealing what needs to be remembered. It's showing the effects of sports and athletics in everyday life. Insights Magazine is showing me, and it's showing you. Insights Magazine is found on our website at insights.com. INSIIGHTS, 2 I's in the middle. Insights.com. Enjoy. Or Tommy Cook, more affectionately known as TC. Give us your favorite Jimmy Black story. Everybody got a Waldo Williams story.
Jimmy was the field general. No matter what superstars we thought Waldo or Leon was, Jimmy always kept everybody in check. He was the person that knew what we needed to do next, and he was willing to take up the challenge. Jimmy probably overachieved the talent that he really had. The one special memory I have of Jimmy is the one game he got his bell rung. He come to the bench. I sat with him for a few minutes, and he didn't even know what quarter we were in. But the very next play, this is back in the day when you played to win, Jimmy went right back in and ran the offense.
Tell me what it meant to you when you were able to look up and see Leon Bright playing in the NFL.
It was a pride for all of us. I played with Leon Bright. Our parents started the very first youth football league on Merritt Island, probably in 67 or 68. Leon was on our team. Waldo, we had a weight limit back then, and Waldo was too big of a person to play on that weight limit. So he wasn't even allowed to play with us, but he came to all of our games and cheered us on. But from the very first time Leon stepped on the field as a 10 or 11-year-old with us, all you seen was the back of his numbers. Growing up, we knew when we got to high school that it was going to be the same thing. Leon was so elusive that he probably only played half of a year because he only played half of the game. If he would have played a full game, and this is no make-up stories, if he would have played full games for us, there wouldn't be nobody in the state of Florida that would ever break his records.
Okay, and Waldo with punt, pass, and kick. He was little when he was in punt, pass, and kick. What did that do to give the pride to Merritt Island to see him on national television in punt, pass, and kick?
Waldo was always, we met Waldo at 11 years old, and Waldo was always 2 heads, not everybody says a head above, but Waldo was always 2 heads above us. But Waldo was always a good friend. He was always humble. He always cared about us. He always cared what we thought about him. And for him to see him on national TV in the pump, pass, and kick was incredible. And we knew that we had the nucleus to make a lot of things special. We were special in elementary school, winning championships and ribbons together. We were special in junior high, winning basketball together, state championships as Little League 13-year-old All-Stars. And then we go to high school and win state championship in football. With Waldo, we excelled in every sport.
My only question, you said Waldo was humble. Waldo and humble doesn't seem to go in the same sentence.
No, Waldo and humble.
You must know him differently than everybody else.
No, Waldo, you take Waldo not with a grain of salt. You take Waldo for who Waldo is. You know, sitting around and visiting and hanging out with him, he wants to say he was the superstar, but he knows that it took everybody else around him to make Waldo.
Your daddy had to do the same shit.
With us today, we have 3 of Merritt Island's finest. We have in the middle at Jimmy Black, quarterback. We got to the left on your screen, you got Leon Bright, running back deluxe. Then we got Waldo. Waldo set, he made the NCAA set a rule so that he could play. So that he now could play a sport other than what he had played, signed to play professionally. Got drafted to play pro baseball, struck out too much. Then he went to Florida State and played football. All 3 of them started here at Merritt Island High School, establishing a tradition that hadn't been able to be duplicated yet. And the interesting thing that I was always so proud of them was all 3 of them ended up at one school at Florida State.
we'd like to say Florida State powerhouse, but at that time, the power was in lowercase letters. It wasn't capital letters. Thank you guys for taking the time prior to your induction into the Hall of Fame to be here and talk to us.
Thank you, me.
I'm gonna start with our quarterback there. He was the leader. Jimmy, tell us a little bit what it was like playing at Merritt Island during those days.
It wasn't just playing at Merritt Island. It was growing up in the end zone playing flag football while the varsity was out on the field. So you grew up to be a Merritt Island Mustang, you know, and that was a huge part of it. And as I said earlier, we were talking. We've all played Little League and grew up together, and that teamship that was there definitely helped us in our state championship quest here at Merritt Island, for sure. That and having an incredible coaching staff that you can't say enough about. Hall of Fame coaches left and right. They were tremendous.
Jimmy, you just said something that we always, as a family, we always talk about. At every football game, especially in high school, there's some little kids somewhere having a heck of a game going on. This sometimes better than the game.
Yeah.
You know, and those were you growing up.
Right in the end zone, yeah.
Right in the end zone there. Leon, for you, you know, you being here and coming up originally from Lottie?
Lottie, Florida, off the farm.
He said, off the farm. What grade was it what grade were you in when you moved here?
You know, Waldo's, him and I discussed that the other day, and man, it had to be around, what, 5th, 6th grade, somewhere in there? Was it? Fifth grade? Yeah. 5th grade. Gardendale, right down the street. Yeah. And walk through the path to go to school. Yeah. And
Walk past the old school.
Yeah. We used to come to the games, man, and see those guys out there, man. I said, man, those grown men. I ain't going out there. You know, and then I had a chance to come to Merritt Island and meet some outstanding young men and some hell of a coaches.
We had a gentleman here to my right who said when you were playing, Tommy Cook said that you were outrunning everybody when you were little, that they could just see your back and your cleats.
Yeah, he said that, you know, but when I came to Merritt Island, man, you know, Coach said, well, you know, you're going to go up there with the varsity team. And I said, oh, my goodness. Man, those guys got beards and mustaches. They got Waldo. Waldo always had that beard and mustache. And then they would come out and the whole team got it. You're like, oh, my God, I ain't going up there. So I went down to JV.
Wait a minute, on your own you went on back to...
Yeah. I wasn't coming up here. Went down to JV and Coach said, where's Leon? He went down there, man, and he said, Bright, didn't I tell you to be up on the field up there? Yes, sir. He said, now you get on up there in that field and watch practice there. You stand up there with us. And I stood up there, man, for a couple of days, and then I started practicing with the team. Then I said, man, I can't beat this on. You got Richard Skinner. Skinner was the starting running back there. Richard was pretty dang good. You know, man, I said, man, I'm not going to get a chance to play here. I practiced with the team, man, and we played Melbourne. We played Melbourne, and Richard got hurt. And I had a chance to go in. And boy, that coach said, hey, time for you to go in, Bright, let's go. Richard hurt. I said, oh, my God. Man, I got to play, man, my heart about to jump out my chest. But I guess the first touchdown, man, I was just running afraid. You know, and then it started getting natural, you know, and you got Big Waldo back there blocking for you, Jimmy Black leading the way, and you get in the huddle, man, and they tell you, hey, just relax, man, Brian, just play ball, you know. And, man, and I get tired, man. I said, Waldo, man, I can't run this play. They done ran me 4 plays in a row. And we switched, and I can hit Coach on the sideline. What are y'all doing out there? I said, Waldo, man, hey, I blocked for you this time, and I get a block from Waldo, go about 40 yards. And everything was all right from that point on. But, man, you know, hey, you can't run 5 or 6 or 7 plays in a row, man. That's tough.
Come on, LB.
You know? But,
you can run 10 plays in a row, man.
Hey, after a while,
After 8 plays in a row.
I was young, man. You know, I didn't know no better, man. I didn't know the potential I had in my team, man. And you always hear the coaches saying, you know, he's gonna do this, he's gonna do that. The fans, you know, and the players, man. But you know, you couldn't do it by yourself, man. Man, we had outstanding players in front. You know, those older guys, man, and then the younger guys. They taught the younger guys what to do and how to do it. And we had a great team, man. And we gelled together and did everything together. And that was the camaraderie of that you come up with. You know, you start gelling, you get that camaraderie. And just like, you know, when you take off your clothes, you know, when you put them on, you know how it's gonna fit. You know, and you get around these guys, man, and we just had a ball out here. You know, I had a ball with them for 2 years, and then they went on. But for the 2 years, man, we had a great time.
I remember going up to the line one time, and I had to look and say, Leon, was it on 1 or was it on 2? Because you know what? And this is good for you here. You know, we used to go on two a lot, and we would get, you know, we'd get a free 5 yards every time. And they don't hardly do that in this day and age. You know, they don't work on that inflection of the quarterback's voice. You know, and it's hard, you have to practice it. You know, because the lineman will jump or somebody will jump unless you practice it and do it over and do it over until in the game. Was that 1 or 2? I can't remember. 2, Jimmy. 2.
You know,
Well, Waldo, tell us. You know, you kind of have been, you're almost like the historian, you know.
He's amazing. What he does.
Now, is that because you've been so involved with it that long, or you really were that much older than them and knew everybody from
we're the same age. No, you're 63.
No.
Yeah, you'll be 63 this year. You'll be 63 this year. So.
Well, Waldo, tell us how you got started in punt, pass, and kick. You know, tell that story how you got involved in that with your dad.
My dad was reading the paper one Sunday morning.
A little louder.
My dad was reading the paper one Sunday morning. This is from talking all day. And he asked me if I wanted to go to this competition at 10 years old. And I said, yeah. And so I went and I won.
Did you even know what the competition was?
No. I never heard of pump, pass, and kick. You know, but
It's pretty new.
I did a lot of pump, pass, and kicking in my day, you know, growing up, because that's all we ever did. So it was just natural stuff. And being a pretty good sized 10-year-old, like way bigger than everybody else, you know, I won.
He said huge.
Yeah.
He always had a mustache.
Yeah, but you know, I was a big kid, but you know, I was a talented kid. You know, my dad
225
taught
to
me.
30?
Huh? Yeah, but I'm talking about 10 years old, man.
They said Leon 225, 230.
Hell was at least 60 pounds.
So Mickey, after going through punt, pass, and kick, you know, the years that I went through and being able to go to different cities and different competitions for 4 years and traveling around the country and visiting the White House and being driven on the field by Richard Petty and running into Vince Lombardi and stuff like that, you know, it's stuff that is a lifetime of memories.
It is.
And
That's amazing.
It is amazing, and it's something to be proud of. But you know what was most proud for me about pump, pass, and kick is that, you know, I actually lost the competition.
Shanked the
You know
punt,
what I mean? Yeah, I shanked the freaking punt.
Wait, everybody remembers that part.
We were all watching.
But here's the thing about it is that I lost the competition, and it hurt. But when I came back home, it was like I was a hero, and so, you know, it made me feel like it was okay, and I'm not one for losing too much of anything. So even though I did lose my friends, they treated me as if I was still the champion. And so
He could throw the ball farther than anybody ever.
I had the longest pump, pass, and kick was 57 yards at 13, you know, and the kid that beat me was real good. But, you know, I shanked the punt and he won.
How old was he?
You know, he was 13 also. He was 13 also. But, you know,
He was 35.
At 13, it's amazing to see and to feel the roar of a crowd of, say, 70,000 people.
Wow.
And it's for you, you know. And I'll never forget one of the things that my dad told me right after I shanked that punt and walked over to the side. He walked up to the little edge of the stadium. He says, "Man, I should have gave you a drink, man, to calm you down." He goes, "You were really hyper," and I was really I knew I was better than this kid, but I knew I had to do everything right. And you know what? I didn't do everything right, and I got beat. Mm-hmm. And you know, that's the thing about our team is that we didn't make mistakes because we knew that in order to be champions, you don't make mistakes. You practice the way you play, but a championship team has to be flawless. And so that's the reason our coaches prepared us the way they did to not be able to not jump off sides, okay, to not get senseless penalties and stuff like that.
Perfect in the huddle, ready, break, right on.
That was
little things.
That was every time. It wasn't just you do it
Right.
when you feel good. It's every time you break the huddle, and it means something because it's the discipline of a football team that wins games. You see what I'm saying? You have to be out-disciplined than a team, you have to be in better shape than a team, and you have to be more prepared than a team.
Well, you were Waldo, and cutting you off too. You didn't want to disappoint the player, the guys around you.
Well, no, yeah, you're right.
Because you make a mistake out there on that field, man, and you feel so bad. And those guys, man, they know how bad you feel because you really want you busting your butt to make that tackle or make that run, and you didn't want to disappoint anyone, man. You didn't want to disappoint the coach.
One of the things about our team is nobody wanted to disappoint anybody.
No.
So therefore, everybody worked as hard as they could to be as good as they could. And then when you're in the backfield with Bright and Jimmy, for me, I led the way for a lot of things as far as blocking. You know what I'm saying, for Bright. But it was always about the end. It was always about the results. And the result was if you did what you were supposed to do, this guy would score a 70, 80-yard touchdown. And what was the best result was seeing his back while you were getting up off the ground. That's the best feeling in the world. And so that's the way we did things. We did things.
One of the things I remember, my dad was on the coaching staff, on the football coaching staff for a while, probably before you came.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he said was that this is one of the finest coaching staffs he had ever been around. Yeah. And we would be in the office, because my dad was a coach, so we'd be in the office when you'd be breaking down game film. And the tips that they look for, that they went over and over and over. And if the right tackle lines up this way, his left foot is going to be back 2 inches further than he normally does. This is the play he's going to run. And they would identify that. And when you mix good coaching with outstanding talent, that is egoless, because you guys didn't have egos. Y'all just played for each other. And you could see now, y'all still close.
We love each other. That's one thing about it. He loves me, we love him. We love the coaches.
And the coaches love us.
And the coaches love us. They really look forward to seeing, and you get them talking, and you just laugh, and it's just wonderful.
Our coaches were so great, but when you get to pick their brains about what they thought about us, as a team, because for us, we missed out on all the glitz and glory of of winning football championship. We had to win the championship. So, but everybody else had the fun part. But so I go back to, we talked with Coach Thomas a couple of days ago, and it was like the most enjoyable conversation because he was so excited to talk to us.
Excuse me, Coach Feely was a legendary coach.
Absolutely.
Who was the coach on the staff that y'all hated to see come? Where it's always that one coach that's like raises all the sand, and when you come like, hey, I better get it right. Who was that coach?
He had the opportunity.
Lee Mace.
It's an opportune time.
Mace brought the best out of him.
Out of Waldo?
Yeah. He wasn't going to let him slack.
Give us a story, Leon.
Oh, Lord. Hey,
you don't want to hear those stories.
Yeah, dude.
Waldo and I, man, there was a fence here. We laying against the fence, man.
Laying against the fence?
Yes, halftime. And Mace stand over Waldo. Waldo! When are you going to get up and start playing football? And Waldo, nonchalant, he looking at him. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He walked away. He said, I like to jump on it. He didn't say that, but I'm not going to do it.
Here's the deal about that. So, we had this opportunity period.
That's good.
We had this opportunity period, and it was an opportunity to get better.
I know. An opportunity to improve yourself.
Yeah, but the way they improved me was they just ran the crap out of me.
He was pretty much in it the whole time. He was screwing off during practice.
School.
All day long.
The teachers didn't discipline me. They just said, I'm going to call Coach Feely when this is over. And so, you know, whenever at practice at the end of school, sixth period came, and then I walked by Coach Feely's office. He said, "See Coach Mays after practice." That was just about every practice. You know, so what that did for me, actually, it made me in better shape than everybody. I ran more than everybody did.
Jimmy, you're nodding your head. That's how you remember it too.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it was.
3/4 of the time, he was an opportunity period after. We're all in there, and there's Waldo and Coach Mason. We're up and down
I used to be out here on the field sometimes, crawling up and down the damn
Crabbing
field.
the whole
My
way.
dad would be standing over in the corner shaking his head like, what was it? You know, but I got to say that, you know, I was in great shape.
I'll tell you a story I remember with Waldo.
was, yeah.
It was right down here. I think we were on the game field, and he was supposed to kick out the defensive end. Okay, so we run the play, and he does it, you know, and he comes back, and Feely goes, "Do it again," you know. We come back, and Waldo's down, and Coach Feely kicked him right in the butt, and I went, "Everybody, dude, run the daggone play over again." And so I don't know who the little defensive end was on the scout team, but God, Waldo crushed the kid on it. Oh my God! But again, Coach Feely, if we ran a play and it wasn't exactly right, we'd do it again. And if it wasn't exactly right, and in my history of some coaching at the high school level now, they're more interested in getting through all the plays than they are making sure every play is perfect. And then when it's perfect, you might want to run it one more time to make it even perfect, so I wasn't lucky, you know?
Well, listen,
and then they would go on.
We put the wishbone in for one game.
Wow.
You know the wishbone? We scored 53 points that game. And I got hurt on a touchdown in the first quarter, and Bright had all the damn fun. So, you know, we
put a whole offense in a week. Wishbone. We know, you know, it's
and we
brand new
scored
back
53
then.
points on
Three
that
guys,
and never ran it again.
And
Never
all
ran it
three
again.
backs, Richard Skinner, who you spoke about earlier, gained 100 yards, over 100 yards in the game. All three backs carried for 300 yards rushing in the wishbone first time. We never ran it again.
We never ran that play again. We never ran any screens. We never ran any draws.
I remember coming back to see you play at Mel High.
That was the
You
first game of the
had
season.
you had 5 touchdowns,
First game, yeah.
and then returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown.
Hell, yeah.
You had 6, and they went on to let you sit the rest of it.
Didn't want to get hit.
Hey, man. Your senior year?
No.
My first year,
But
yeah.
it seems to me like
he had 6
my first
touchdowns.
time
Mel
I
High
He didn't have 6
at Melbourne.
No, I had 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just saying,
Excuse me,
I'm
historian.
just saying. Well,
well,
I scored
you know-
5 touchdowns.
Okay,
He
that's why
scored 5
you
touchdowns.
been opportune time all the
Phil
time.
scored 5 touchdowns. We're the only 3 people scored
Excuse
5
me.
Here's something that's
Jimmy.
incredible that people don't realize. He played half a game, maybe into the third quarter of series. He
Well, we all
played
did.
half a game, you know. They would pull the starters out, and we could have run up stats crazy, but, you know, we didn't.
We never played the whole game.
And Coach Feely was a
never played
class
the whole
act,
game.
too.
We
He
never
never
played 3/4
ran
of
it
the
up
game.
on anybody.
Never.
I mean,
We never
don't-
played.
we don't
Bright
know what
led
playing
he led the
4
conference in
quarters was
scoring.
like. We didn't know
rushing.
what it was like
I
playing
was
4
saying.
quarters.
Jimmy was first
Never.
in passing.
What did it feel like to have everybody in Merritt Island follow you to games? I remember caravans that lasted for miles, just rolling. And the town, if somebody wanted to steal something, they could steal whatever they wanted
it was
to.
amazing.
Because
Like,
everybody
Making
followed.
anything they want to
Well,
bring.
you know what? Let me
Stores,
tell you.
houses.
Well, what did it feel like? Tell
Let me
when
tell you
with
something about that, if I can. The people that followed us in this community, it was pretty unreal. But you know what? There's a lot of people from Brevard County and even over Florida that followed us, and it's just amazing. To this day, it's still amazing to me. It's just amazing.
I think where I noticed it first, really, was when we played Fort Pierce down there the first game. And there were a lot of Merritt Island fans there, and it kind of pissed the Fort Pierce people off. It had a big stadium. It held everybody, but it was that was definitely an incredible game that went back and forth, and we kick a field goal with no time remaining. It bounces up and comes down, and we think we won, they think they won, but it fell on our side, and we ended up.
Are you kidding me? That ball hit that crossbar and bounced right. When it hit the crossbar, it bounced right by me. And of course, the guy that kicked the ball, he wasn't really a kicker. He was just a defensive lineman that, you know, Richard Keesey.
I thought he was a kid.
Huh? He was posing as a kicker.
Coach Williams,
Hey, he's a good kick. I mean, he hit the ball.
It wasn't about 25 yards.
But you know what I remember that game though?
What?
Leaving.
Huh?
They spitting on us, man, and throwing stuff on you, man. And,
Hey, let me tell you something.
Fort Pierce Central,
it was scary
right?
leaving the game.
Can I tell you something
leaving
about
out
that,
the game, man. They had to be escorted by the police to leave the game.
Yeah.
I mean, people just.
Tell them about the time after we went back down to Fort Pierce. Coach Triplett invited us down, you and I, and we got to go in the locker room before the semifinal of the state championship game. Fort Pierce played Tampa Robinson down in Fort Pierce. Calvin Triplett invited us to come down to speak to the team. But the funniest part about that, we were going up in the stands with our jackets on, and the people were booing us. That was really funny.
I got a serious note on that, which is really, you know, it kind of moved me a lot with Waldo and Leon. And as we left the stadium, there were lines of people just spitting on us. And we got on the bus. I said, "Damn, Waldo, you know, one of them guys spitting on us." He goes, "Well, they're spitting on me too. You know, they're spitting on everybody. It wasn't just you, buddy. You know, I got my share too." But
they was throwing rocks at us too.
To
We had to
me,
keep our
that
helmets
was just,
on.
it was a wonderful game. My
Yeah,
God,
it
it was
was.
one of the, Jerry Guest wrote it as one of the best high school games he's ever seen. And it was, I mean, it was that good.
But you know, Don Latimer, he, what I remember of that game, he made it was an article that came out in Fort Pierce Central paper, and he got that article and put it on a piece of wood and laminated it, and he sent that to me, and you know,
Wow.
and I was like, wow. And he said, "Man, he's a little note come with it. You know, man, you're a hell of a guy. Keep it up." I didn't. My first time ever meeting him, man.
Wow.
You know, after everything is over, you go meet the guy. But I didn't know him from Adams. You know, I just knew he was a heck of a football player. But when he did that, man, I think he made it in a woodworking class or something, and that was like I said, wow, that was touching. You know,
We'll make it.
Even as adversaries and
right?
arch rivals, could see the relationship between Fort Pierce Central and Merritt Island had been going on because that's who the big game was.
Right.
And in the day, over in this corner over here was where most of the blacks from Merritt Island would sit. And Fort Pierce Central would come in. Then the thing would whoop, whoop, side to head, whoop, side to head. And they would come in mass and march down here. Wouldn't go on Fort Pierce Central side.
Like,
They'd come up here
this
and
is the
displace
fans,
everybody.
The
And
fans
from there,
from their school. Excuse me.
Anybody got a sock?
I'm just saying that.
and from there, it'd almost be a fight.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and so it was always something, basketball, football, but it got better with you guys because the whippings they used to put on us wasn't as much.
Right.
And so that's why it was always that arch rival bitterness at a level that was, the only thing that was anywhere close to it was before desegregation when Monroe and Stone would play and Stone and Gibson would play. Because sometimes rivalries in black sports are different.
Right.
You know, they throw a brick. If you win, they throwing bricks through the bus. Everybody on the ground. You know, so getting spit on was kind of light. That hurt. Because they'd throw a brick at you. You know, and the police would have to get you out of town, and everybody be backed up to the end of the field so you could run on. Because they said, "Lord, if we're gonna win this game, we might not get out of here." You know, or if you lost, coach would have what they called the headlight practice. And they turn all the headlights on the practice, and you go practice another 2-3 hours. So the rules and regulations are a lot different.
Absolutely.
Now, what do y'all see as the biggest difference between high school athletes then and the ones now?
It's no loyalty to the program or the coach or the players.
Or the school.
Out of school. And I think all kids now are like this. What are you going to do for me? And I tell Waldo, Jimmy, we talk about it all the time, soft. I say it's soft as cotton. Because time you touch them, they're crying, or the parents coming out the stand, "Oh, my son is hurt." You know, my mama come on the field, man, and she jumped the fence one day, man, and came out. I got hurt. And I looked, I said, Mom, what you doing out here? You know, it hurt me for my mom being on the field. I'm okay, Mom. And then everybody gonna tease you for the rest of the week.
Right.
Oh, your mom had to come get you. You know, you didn't want that. But the kids now, man, the parents, the coach, the coach today, he have to be a judge, he have to be a mom, dad, uncle, aunt. He have to have 9 different hunters hats on. He have to be be able to talk to the parents. That, you know, because what the parents say to the coaches today, man, is unreal. And sometimes the coach, I know you want to just jump up there, man, and just drag them out the stands, man, and beat the hell out of them. But you can't do that. So it's a different atmosphere today when you see players out here playing. It's all about me. Me. Not team, me. And that's what I see, man. And it's tough for a coach to do his job when a parent won't let him do his job. You know? So,
Waldo, tell us a time when you got discouraged.
About what?
Playing.
Playing football?
Football, baseball, anything. And did your parents ever have to come to you and tell you were going to listen to the coach or you were going to do X, Y, and Z?
Not really. Being discouraged about sports is something that I've always enjoyed. And so we didn't have time to be discouraged when it came to playing high school football because we were setting ourselves to be something special. And not because we knew we were, but because we knew that we wanted to be.
Well, did it ever happen to you collegiately or professionally?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that anybody that's an athlete is going to be discouraged because that's the way sports is. Anything in life there's going to be some discouragement, but you know, one has to look up and keep their heads up and keep moving on. Being discouraged for me was, my second year in baseball. I had a halfway decent year. I hit a couple home runs, but it wasn't the way that I planned on being. Was I discouraged? Yeah.
I can remember getting a letter from you.
Wait a minute. I can remember the only time that I was discouraged in high school, I got kicked out of a football game. That was the biggest discouragement that I've ever had because I had to face these guys.
Letting everybody down?
Yeah, I had to face these guys, and then I had to...
Well, why did you get kicked out?
Because I kicked the guy in the head, but he deserved it, you know.
Yeah, that'll get you kicked out.
Yeah, it got me kicked out. The referee was just standing right there, so it got me kicked out, but what it did was... Coach really told me that it made me look foolish, you know, and so that didn't sit well with me. So
Jimmy, tell us about the letter.
It made me better.
Have you ever heard of Lodi, California? Weren't you in Lodi,
Yes,
California? He wrote me a letter from Lodi, California. He says, "Damn, these people are, you know, prejudiced here. They're not right. You were really discouraged." Yeah. The letter I got was not Waldo, right. You know, bubbly and all. He was really bummed to be in a weird situation. You wouldn't think in Lodi, California it'd be like that, but it was apparently, and he didn't like it at all. And I think that was part of your reason to say, hey,
that's probably
I want to get
Well, you know, and because of the fact that I was able to make a phone call and get a scholarship and to go play with my friends, it made a big difference. You know, it wasn't just that easy, but it felt that easy. And
Waldo, wasn't that easy? Because that rule wasn't even in place.
Right. Well,
I mean, they put that. You were the one they put that rule in place for. They should have called it the Waldo rule.
Right. But you know,
look how many guys, went on to play baseball, or football.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
Right.
You know, but there's a guy named John O'Rear. His brother played quarterback at University of Alabama, and John O'Rear was shortstop for the team in Lodi. He got hit in the jaw, broke his jaw. Didn't get to play until the end of the year. He came back and got hit again, broke his jaw. And when I went back to play college football, John O'Rear was starting safety at Kansas. Right the next year after I got eligible, he went back and played, and he was a hell of an athlete. You know, but I think that in sports, everybody has a different path, and one has to settle with whatever path they choose. You know, and so I chose to go back to college and play football because of my friends and because I thought I was good enough to do that.
Well, how did all of you end up at Florida State?
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Well, coming out of high school, he said, hey, go visit all these other schools,
but you're
going to Florida State.
Yeah.
That was the bottom line.
Yeah. He interrupted. I was getting recruited by Fran Kersey, who had coached at Miami, and I think he's at Kentucky. And Phoebe busted into the room, and Jimmy, what are you doing? Come here. Man, I haven't told you this yet, but I'm going to Florida State. I want you to come with me to Florida State. I said, well, Coach, they haven't recruited me. Oh, don't worry about that. You know, I was going to go to Florida.
Jimmy and I signed at Florida State the same day.
Yeah.
At Coach
And tell them who signed us.
Bill Parcells.
Bill Parcells.
Mm-hmm. Bill Parcells used to be at my house almost every Friday night home game, standing in the front yard. And people, to this day, people say, you remember Bill Parcells? Well, of course I remember Bill Parcells at my front yard. Mm-hmm. And the neatest thing about that, when Bright played for the Giants, I got to visit him and go talk to Parcells. And
that was the biggest reason that I went there, because Parcells. I got there and started working out.
Yeah.
And Ray Perkins come out. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Get ready to work out for you, Coach." He said, "Going upstairs to sign the contract."
Yeah.
I was like, "Whoop." Just like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow. I went to Kansas City, Buffalo, San Diego, flew in to see me, and a couple more teams, man. And I was like, man. And then I just they flew me out there the next day, and I was out there working out, warming up, and he said, "Hey, you want to be a Giant?" I said, "Yes, sir." Here you go. Yeah. Go upstairs and sign that contract.
You don't know this.
Wow.
Tampa Bay was terrible back then, right? I mean, and I wrote McKay, that was the coach.
Yeah,
I wrote him a letter. I says, hey, listen, this isn't about me. This is about one of the best running backs I've ever seen in my life, Leon Bright. I said, you guys ought to, you ought to be signing him up. Go check out the films and whatever. And obviously, they didn't sign, so it didn't work, but I did send a letter. Thank you.
Still looking out for your friend.
Well, hey, I'm helping you out, John. You guys are terrible.
I left the Giants and in about a month later, they called me up and said,
I got a story for you,
want to talk to you.
Mickey. I got a story for you. So we're in Giant Stadium. I was punting some punts to Bright. I was a pretty good punter back in the day. I shanked a few, but so Mickey, we're in Giant Stadium hitting some punts, and over the loudspeaker, the dude says, Leon Bright, go down to the end of the stadium. And I'm like, what the hell's going on, Bright? And we get down to the end of the stadium, and this 1937 Rolls Royce two-tone pulls up. Hey,
you know what you're gonna say?
Diana Ross steps out. And she was doing a concert that weekend, and she actually talked to Bright and some of the players. And I stood leaning against the goalpost, watching the whole thing. You
didn't butt into it?
No, I didn't want to get. But listen, here's what happened. The whole thing was filmed with me coming this way, so it got all of me. So I got a whole bunch of phone calls that night about the news, like, what are you doing there? I'm like, I was down there helping Bright, and I got to see Diana Ross. She was just gorgeous.
She was, man.
That was pretty nice.
She was giving a party in a couple of days. She wanted me to attend. So I had, a young buck.
Yeah.
Miss Ross. Hurley always teased me about that. He said, boy, you and that Diana, what went on? But you got an opportunity, man, to meet a lot of stars when you're in New York, You go out to places, man, and you meet people, man, and it just, and they know you. And you say, oh no, I'm your fan. No, don't say, Bright, I'm your fan. You like that. You change things like that, man, and it was unbelievable. Then you go out to dinner, man, and you see this long lineup, man, about a mile long, and the old guy, he see you back there, and he walk out there, hey, Mr. Bright, come on in. We got a seat for you. You're like, whoa, they recognize you, and it's unreal, man. I said, well, if you rob something or steal something right here, you go into jail because everybody know you.
Well, Leon, tell us what it felt like to be in New York after coming from Lottie to Merritt Island.
Old country boy going to the city. That's what it was, and basically, all the reporters, they knew my background, and most of the people that you meet, they already know about you because they done did their homework, and then you go out to different places. It's unreal when to me, it's just like being a movie star. Anywhere you go in New York or Jersey, everybody know you, and they treat you accordingly. Oh man, it's unreal. I can't find my words for it. I always tell the kids, I say it's a different world. I say this was my life here at Merritt Island High School. That was a life. Florida State was a life. When I went to Canada, that was a different life. When I went to New York, that's a different life. I said, you know, I'm just like a cat. I got 9 lives, so I got at least 5 more left. But you know, it's everywhere you go, it's a different life. You know, every step that you make. You know, I'm not saying that high school was down here, but you know, high school was a big stepping stone for me to get some things I want out of life. And playing football was it. You know, you go out and get injured, and you're laying up in the hospital. You know, when you come knocked out, when you come conscious there, man, you're in the hospital, you're looking around, and then they didn't flew some of your relatives in, you know, to be with you, and you're like, oh my God, they flew you guys out here? You know, yeah, they flew them out here so they could, you know, your mom or your grandmother or your aunt, whoever you got on your list there, they fly them out there to be with you. I was in the hospital for a week up there when I get in Detroit, got knocked out, and you know, and then you know, right now. I feel that I'm going through some changes now, you know, with my life. It just, a lot of things that we discussed in here today, I already discussed with these guys here. They brought it back to my memory because I don't, you know, I forget stuff now. And my wife, she done called me 10 times to make sure I made it here. Yeah. Because she couldn't go, she was sick. And I called Waldo up and I said, Waldo, all right now, you done gave me this address. I called you guys 2 or 3 times, but you know, it's, I don't know. You know, I'm just tough to explain. Yeah, tough to explain. It's.
I think you've done a real good job of explaining it, and I guess for me, this whole process of interviewing you three, and knowing you as y'all grew up, and the pride that you brought to so many people, and to look at you now and still see, you know, y'all still the same guys, you know. I remember Waldo, you know, he came under me, so I had to get on him. But you guys are still the same guys.
You know something though? I just got to thinking about. You probably don't realize this, but I idolized you on the basketball team playing with your dad when you were at Merritt Island, and then followed your career as you went on. And you probably didn't know that, but yeah, if I saw you in the score box, I said, look at that, man.
Being a coach at the college.
Yeah. No, and good like that when I read it. You know? I never really told you, but yeah, we were.
Thank you.
And that's part of the aura of Merritt Island. You know, looking up to people like Jimmy Revels and Bernie Waxman, and
you know, one of the things about Merritt Island is that for us, we can go back and name 100 names of people that's played on this field, because those are the people that we idolize, and those are the people that we wanted to be like, and those are the people that we wanted to make proud. You see, and so our little group of people is very different than most groups, and so and the biggest thing is that we always took pride in being the best.
And one of our statistics here, you know, before I forget, small Merritt Island, at one time we had 9 NFL guys playing NFL ball at one time. Wow. At little old Merritt Island.
That's amazing.
Hurley, Brown, Spence,
Bubba.
You had all these guys playing at one time on different teams, man, out of this little small town, Merritt Island.
Right.
And you know, and you see all these big states, New York, Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, hey, all those guys, man, they couldn't say that, those other schools. They can't say that, but we can say this at Merritt Island. We represent, man, the world, really, you know, out of Merritt Island here.
And you know, one of the things about Merritt Island, and as small as we are and as small as we have been, and we'll probably be small our whole whatever, but the bottom line is that we are recognized throughout the world, basically. I've run into people from all over the world that know me, and if people that know me, they know us, you know, because we kind of go together. And because of the things that we accomplished on the field, you know, we just have to keep in mind that we didn't do it all ourselves. You know, there's a group of kids and people and men now that were just awesome. I mean, and that went from our parents to the ball boys. I got to say one thing about one person. There's a guy named Heinrich. Heinrich was a guy. Paul Heinrich was a guy that weighed 100 pounds, maybe soaking wet. But I guarantee you, when he put on a number 20 jersey, he looked like he was Superman. His chest stuck out. and it made me the most proudest guy I ever. You know what I
Play
mean?
linebacker.
Huh?
No, I don't think he ever
He
played.
never
in
played
a
it
single
down.
Play,
Oh,
never
who-
down.
He never played it down on
Played
our
every
team.
practice with
The
us.
guy that played linebacker.
Eddie Reed.
Eddie Reed.
Eddie Reed.
Eddie Reed played.
Yeah.
Little stick.
Eddie
Speared
Reed
you.
played.
Man,
He
they
played
used to
safety
hurt me
at-
when he
Gentlemen, let me,
Defensive
we,
end.
gentlemen, we losing the sun.
losing the light?
Yes,
You wanna
and
finish
there's
up?
and
we have a new coach here at Merritt Island now, Hurley Brown.
Brown.
Yeah, we got to support him, baby.
Yeah, yes,
That's
sir.
right.
And one thing that we traditionally ask, each one of you can answer it, or one can answer it. What I want you to do is look in the camera, and I want you to talk to a younger version of yourself, 10 years old, 12 years old, and tell yourself what you would want to know based on your own experiences at your age right now. So talk to yourself and give him the advice that you wish somebody had given you, knowing all that you know about Leon's life, Jimmy's life, Waldo's life. Talk to yourself and prepare yourself for what's ahead. Oh, it requires some thought.
You want me to do that?
Go ahead.
You want me to do that?
Hey, all of you could do it.
Well, you know, that is such a tough question, Mickey, first of all.
Yes, that's why we ask it.
It's one that one needs to contemplate more than a couple of seconds, but if I had to go back and talk to myself at 10 years old, it's actually strange because my parents were so good and my family was so good, so it makes it strange to go back to me and say that I wanted something to change in my life. There ain't much that I wanted to change because I had it so good. You know,
Okay.
you know, when you grow up the way we grew up with having parents to give you all you needed. You know, you never got all you wanted, but you always got what you needed. And so I can't go back at 10 and say
Okay.
I deserve
Well, I
something more.
appreciate that, Jimmy. Okay.
I
That's
can
a tough
remember-
one, I tell you that.
I can remember before our senior year, and the coaches, we all knew we were going to be pretty good, right? I mean, we knew we were going to be good. And I remember Mike Garrow and I, a little wide receiver, small, not that fast, okay? But we could run it down and out anytime we wanted to, right? And we, during that summer before, we'd go surfing at the beach and go to Edgewood Junior High and throw route after route. So I would say, you know, it takes more than just going out on the field and doing it. You got to do some of that stuff yourself, you know. You got to push yourself to do that. And we knew that at any time in the game, and we'd look and see that guy 10 yards off, and he'd look up at me, and guess what? Forget to play. We're just going to 3-step drop, and boom, first down. That would be my advice.
Well, you know, Jimmy, I could say, you know, when we were playing ball, you guys are pretty talented. And when you got talent like that, you don't work as hard as the rest of the people do. But I'm telling the young guy there, if you got talent, first of all, you need to get that education. Make sure you get your education. Listen to those teachers, listen to your mom and dad. And the people that you are hanging around, your friends, make sure those friends are headed in the same direction you're headed in. Because anybody give you bad advice, you need to cut them loose. And those guys that always negative around you, cut them loose. You don't need those guys. They're not your friends. Anyone, man, that just around you and just nagging all the time and they're stealing your power from you. Don't let them steal your power from you. Be positive. Because all that negative stuff, man, the world already got enough negative in it. Be the best you can be. You got to be hungry, hungry, hungry. If you want something out of this life, man, stop reaching your hand out, man, and go out there, man, and work for it. Because those guys, man, that got their hands out, man, they're not going to be worth a dime. Because when the hard time come down on them, they're going to give up. They're going to quit on you. Don't be a quitter. The hardest thing in the world to do is to stick with something that you don't like doing. The easiest thing to do is just say, I'm done. Walk away from it. But life is not like that. Life is hard every day. Your mom and dad get up and go to work. You don't have to go to work. You take your butt to school. When you go to school, be the best you could be. Sit up in the front row. Don't sit in the second row or third row. Sit in the front row. Be the best. You want everybody talking positive about it. People not always going to talk positive about you. They're going to say some negative things. And when they say those negative things, you don't take it personally. You get those negative things, man, and build on it. Say, hey, they say I'm this way, I'm going to be this way. And work hard at it. Don't be that person that quit. We got kids today, man, that's all they want to do is quit. Be the best you can be.
I think you ought to run for president, my man.
And that's a wrap. That we're going to close on that.
Leon, that's beautiful.
We're going to
Waldo
close on that.
started talking, and you thought that, and I thought,
Shit, good boy. Man, I love you, man.
Thank you
Coach,
so much.
what Waldo was going after was
appreciate
number
that.
20 on the
That's
team.
awesome.
Never
Man, I appreciate
13
it. All right, man.
Good
You the
seeing
one
you,
that
spring
helped
training.
coordinate all of this. Thanks, man.
spring game.
man.
13 games in a season. Never played it down.
Isn't it
But
pretty?
he ran every
you-
wind sprint.
Can you get
He
a
did
picture
every
of-
exercise. He gave all his heart to this whole team.
Here, I got to tell you a story that includes him. Okay, so our senior year,
I want you to take a picture of all of us, please.
our senior year, Coach.
Hey, Larry, what out here on this MI?
there you go,
There
baby.
you go.
Coach Feely got a coach from.
This is Mickey Clayton, the coach, president and CEO of Inside Sports. This story was actually started off as a labor of love. One thing that has happened is that Facebook has put me back in touch with a lot of my oldest friends from Merritt Island High School. Not to be confused with the ones that I have from Cleveland, from middle school and elementary, but my high school friends. Waldo and I found each other on Facebook, and we've talked dozens of times since then. And once we found out about the Hall of Fame induction, back home, I went home to be able to do a story. The concept started on the three guys, the skill positions that were the superstars that all left Merritt Island High School and went to Florida State. That in itself being an accomplishment. One of the things that you'll find out about the guys, Jimmy Black, Leon Bright, Waldo Williams, is that they really come from a good team. And the guys on that team are so very, very close. Many of them gone on to be doctors, lawyers, movie script writers, just a host of different, what the average person calls successful careers. Those guys are really close. And I learned very early to let the story take you where the story goes. And we went from doing it about the three and their accomplishments to the closeness, the brotherhood that exists between Leon, Jimmy, and Waldo. Waldo was the one that was the main contact for doing the story. And that in itself is a story in itself, because Waldo has that kind of personality. People say, man, you two guys really clash. Not really. You have different types of relationships with different people. And Waldo and I have a special bond. Each one of them I have a different relationship with. But Waldo and I clash, hug, and go on about our business. We brothers. We move right on. We've been like that since he was in 10th grade. And it still is the same. Leon was a little quieter. And I was so proud to hear him speak like he spoke. Jimmy was always the person behind the scenes. He was always the general, always thinking things out. And by the time you wanted to ask the question, Jimmy moved on with an answer to the next question that you hadn't even thought of yet, because his mind was always analytical. We have so many things that are coming that we're doing. And one of the things is, after we shot this film, or this story, Leon Bright called me and talked to me about doing another story based on some of the injuries sustained from playing sports at the high level that some of them played at. Some of the effects that it has on the individuals, their families, their futures. And we're researching that information to do a story on that. These guys are heroes in terms of the things that they accomplished. They've really reached legendary status. When you get older, you start to tell stories and you think that you've enhanced them and made them bigger than what they really were. But when you go back and read some of the things that are written, we didn't enhance any of it. It all happened. We were all the original witnesses. We saw greatness that hadn't been duplicated up to that time or since. And a lot of it, as credit gets passed around, cannot be overlooked by the outstanding coaching staff that developed these players and the young men, that made them persevere in the face of adversities, that they just stood up through it because they had gone through it in high school sports. Coach Eddie Feely, man, he was a special guy, Hall of Fame coach. Special. The brain trust behind it. And when you go back and read it, he one of those guys to go to Florida State, and he was at Florida State as the JV coach back when they had JV teams. But Coach Feely, just everywhere he went, good teams followed him. So to explain what that really means, that means that wherever he went, he produced winners. And he produced them then. Waldo, Jimmy, Leon, Mark Feely, athletic director at Leon High School, Tommy, Hurley, all the guys who came behind, all the guys that were a part, all the families that supported these young men and what they did. This is just a tip of what happened during that time to help create what many, including the Florida High School Athletic Association, called the team of the 70s. Thank y'all for letting me be a part of that journey, revisiting it with you. And an absolute part of what we want to do with the Insights is to tell the stories, retell the stories, capture some of it. And for those of you who don't know, now you know. There's more to this to come. This is Mickey Clayton, the coach at Insights. Follow us. INSIIGHTS, 2 I's in the middle. Insight Sports, Insights Magazine.
Your attention, please.
Stay up to date with the latest from Insights. Visit our website at insights.com. 2 I's in the middle. INSIIGHTS.
Insights is a copyright of Mac4 Enterprises, a Florida corporation. This broadcast is produced under the exclusive ownership of Mac4 Enterprises and is the intellectual property and trademark of Mac4 Enterprises. Comments of the host and other individual speakers on Insights represent the independent thoughts and representation.